Hi, my name is Raven Powless. I am the game producer for Team Dynamyte. Our team consists of Milandro Jr. Tolentino, Minh Son Tran, formerly Odai Kakouni, myself, and Samuel Ko. These are our roles, the things that we were, designated to do. Everyone in the group worked on various different things. I would say we were all general programmers just throughout the entire project period, and we all worked on different aspects of the project as well. Today I'm going to be going over just our project that we worked on throughout this school semester, which is Farm Defense. So Farm Defense is a isometric tower defense game targeted for mobile, and in the game you basically kind of take control, from an overhead view. You kind of have to help these rabbits protect their farm from these kind of predatory animals that are trying to steal things like their food or maybe even harm the rabbits. So it's kind of your job to defend the vase or the farm and make sure that the rabbits can kind of survive for as long as possible. The main mechanic in the game is for the player to place objects down onto tiles in order to defend the farm. Place towers can be upgraded and repaired using resources by tapping and holding onto a tile containing a tower. For dynamics, the main dynamic the player will need to deal with is the increasing amount of enemies that appear in each wave, as well as potentially maybe reconsidering the layout of their objects on the tiles currently. From some of the slides, you may be able to tell that the game has an overall cartoonish aesthetic. This is mainly done to make sure that all of the assets work well with each other, an overall theme, and that nothing looks or feels out of place, and to make the game have a simple look. Games that Farm Defense was influenced by include Bloons Tower Defense and Plants vs. Zombies. Bloons features similar static levels with large amounts of enemies, all going towards the central objective, and Plants vs. Zombies features similar mechanics regarding limited amount of tiles the player has that are designated for offensive and defensive items that the player has to use. Farm Defense is targeted towards a younger audience, or just relative, fans of mobile tower defense games. Because Farm Defense doesn't use realistic violence and uses cartoon violence instead, it could likely be classified under everyone or everyone 10 and up under the ESRB. So now I'm just gonna go through some basic gameplay footage, going over a few topics when they do arise throughout the footage. So the game is fairly simple. The way that it gets more difficult is more enemies will spawn on higher waves. So on the first wave, 1 enemy will spawn. On the 5th wave, 5 enemies will spawn. And like that, it will just increase by 1 enemy each wave. So it just gets more overwhelming for the player to defend their base. So going back to the plants, once a plant is placed, basically this resource meter will tick up, and then the player will be able to harvest it for resources that they can use to build towers that helps them to actually defend their base. When an enemy walks past, the plant will take damage and some of the resources will go away. An additional thing that the player can do is they can remove objects from tiles. This might be important maybe if you don't want to put a specific type of tower in a certain spot. Maybe you want to put something else there. For the game, we also have different tower types. Currently we have 3. So the first type of tower is this watchtower. And basically what this does is, this is just kind of your normal, if a enemy walks into a certain range, this tower will do damage to them. Another tower which is similar to this, which starts with slightly higher stats, that is the windmill tower. And it's again similar to the watchtower, but the windmill tower has higher starting stats. The third tower type we have in the game is a scarecrow tower. This is more of a utility kind of based tower. The main purpose of this tower is kind of similar to the other towers which shoot enemies within a certain range. This tower will slow enemies down that enter within the certain range of the scarecrow tower. So in the game there are 3 different types of enemies. So the first type of enemy is basically a mouse enemy. The mouse enemy is the fastest out of the 3 enemy types. It also has the least amount of health, but it is the fastest. The next enemy is the large enemy. This one is probably the tankiest of all the enemies. This one has the most health, but as a result of that, it kind of has the slowest speed as well. And the last type of enemy is the in-between enemy, which has an in-between amount of speed and health, but the thing that makes them unique is the fact that they are the only enemy type that can actually do damage to not just plants, but also do damage to the player's towers as well. So when this fox enemy gets close to a tower, or rather they get in range of the tower, the fox will shoot a projectile at the tower and the tower will take damage. And then if the player wants to increase the health of that tower again, they will need to repair it. So in the game, in order to repair towers, basically the player will have to hold their finger, or in this case just their cursor, tap and hold over a tile that contains an object on top of it, and they will get this pop-up menu where they can interact with the object and do whatever they may need to do with it. So from this menu, you have different things that you can do. Things like having the opportunity to upgrade a tower, and doing so allows you to choose between things like fire rate, range, damage as well. Over the course of development, many lessons were learned by everyone on the team. Things done well include features being implemented consistently and on time, as well as additional experience for everyone in the group, being able to work on a tower defense game and in a team environment. Things that were not done as well or could have been improved upon was the disproportionate amount workload for individual features that was worked upon by different team members, the lack of a consistent structure for the scheduled weekly meetings, features that may have been forgotten during development, and farm defense maybe not feeling like a unique game compared to the other mobile tower defense games. In the future, features that could be added include a larger map to help give the mini-map and camera movement more of a purpose in the game, dynamic enemy pathing with multiple routes for the enemies to reach their objective, and a story mode with levels to help give the player a reason to keep playing the game if they maybe just want to have different objectives, or if they don't want to just continue playing the endless mode instead. So that wraps up the information that I have. I think Farm Defense is a good game to maybe add to our portfolios, and it's also a good game to maybe continue working from if we want to continue working as a group, or add our own spin on things and maybe change something and maybe tweak things and do it that way as well.